Welcome to the latest Motley Fool scoreboard. I'm Anand Chakavalu. We've got longtime fools Sanmeet Deo and Tom King giving a 1 to 10 rating to one of the Magnificent Seven. It's Alphabet, ticker symbols GOOG and GOOGL. Talk about the business first, including factors like industry and the increasingly interesting competition. A 10 is invincible. A 1 is hopeless. Tom, both of you have 9s.
Yeah, I thought about giving Alphabet a 10, but nothing is invincible. Android is the operating system used on about 72% of smartphones globally. This gives Alphabet the opportunity to feature its products like Chrome web browser and Google Play Store very prominently. YouTube is very lucrative since users pay to generate the content. Google search, as we know, is critical in the internet advertising market. And I think that Alphabet's Office productivity software, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Cloud, and so on, is challenging Microsoft in a way it hasn't been challenged in a long time. For example, the three of us used Google Docs to prepare for the show, mainly because we could work on it at the same time, something that's a little harder to do in Word.
Yeah, ditto to a lot of what Tom said. Google's ad business, which is about 75% of its revenue, is arguably one of the best business models in the world, and it's consistently maintained dominance in its industry. In addition to its unique model, like its business model, the ecosystem of its products, like many of the things that Tom said, Maps, YouTube, Docs, all that stuff, gives advertisers kind of like a multifaceted approach to their campaigns, so they can kind of reach so many different platforms just through Google. So I too didn't give it a 10 because of the rise of the AI chatbots. Their dominance in search is beginning to show some cracks. How Alphabet responds to this challenge and what their business looks like in the future kind of has some uncertainty. Although, I still think that their dominance is going to continue, and we tend to call the bottom of things the destruction of things a little too soon, but that only because of that I can't give it the 10 that I think it actually deserves.
Are we at peak oil yet? Let's talk about management. A 10 is Warren Buffett. A 1 is Homer Simpson. Sanmeet's got an 8. Tom, you're a bit lower at a 6.
Yeah, this is going to drag Alphabet down. Let's start on the good side. I think the business is really well run and it's got a long-term mindset. But I ding them for making the dual class share structure popular amongst tech companies. This is where different classes of stock have different voting rights. It was very unusual when they IPO'd in 2004, but it's become very common now and abused to some extent, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Tom. That dual class share structure is never a fun thing for us, smaller shareholders. But I don't ding them for that as much because that was a prior management team, the founders. The new management team is, different, and it's a great management team. It's mostly homegrown, and they've been prudent about expenses and investments as of late. They've been focused on it. Obviously, they're going to be putting in a lot of investments for the challenges and opportunities from AI, but they've been a lot more mindful of those things.
Let's move on to financials. A 10 is a fortress. A 1 is yikes. Now, both of you have 10s, Tom.
I mean, there's only in 3 years since 2005 has Alphabet's revenue grown at less than 10%. That's a 20-year time frame. It has never earned a return on invested capital lower than 23%. And as of December, it had $96 billion in cash. Far greater than its $26 billion in debt. So great return on capital, solid cash position relative to its debt. So I think the 10 is deserved.
Yeah, Alphabet's financials are a fortress. Not many companies that have financials like Alphabet. And the strength of these financials give it a lot of flexibility in its business to approach a lot of problems in creative ways that they've been doing.
Throw off cash, you have a strong balance sheet, and your business is good enough that you both rated it a 9. Well, that paves the way for a 10 in financials. But let's talk about if the stock is a buy, Sanmeet. How well will Alphabet stock do over the next 5 years, and how safe is it? Keeping in mind a 10 is a sure thing, a 1 is a lottery ticket.
I still think the stock has a good chance of 10 to 15% returns over the next 5 years. The consensus projections call for revenues of 11% and EPS of 14% over the next 3 years. The 3-year forward PE is around 14 times. So the valuation is pretty low for one of the most dominant businesses of our time and kind of reflects a discount mostly around AI fears. But it's almost as if no value is being ascribed to any future growth potential for this company, which I think is unreasonable.
I give it 15% plus for 5-year return. Shares are priced at 20 times earnings, and as Sanmeet said, expectations are very low. I think the company can repurchase shares, leading to faster per share profit growth than profit growth at the company level, which was 9% in the last 3 years. And I don't expect this to be slower in the future. With regards to safety score, I give it an 8. There are some questions about how Alphabet will earn a return on its AI investments, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt since they have plunged into nascent industries before, like internet videos with YouTube and operating systems for mobile phones with Android, with great results.
Yeah, if there's one thing Google can do is make ad dollars, right? I think they'll figure that out. Just like people worried about Facebook monetizing mobile, 10, 15 years ago. Let's move on to top it. Sanmeet, is there a company in Alphabet space that you like better?
I mean, in its space, Alphabet is the king. Over to you, Tom.
I mean, you can't really top Alphabet. I mean, it's number 1 or number 2 in all the markets that it competes in.
Well, thank you to both Tom and to Sanmeet. They've given Alphabet an overall score of 8.5 out of 10, which is actually up from the 7.3 it got last year. Remember all those initial Google's too far behind ChatGPT fears? I mean, clearly it's, at least our analysts think it's gotten even stronger, at least this group. A good lesson on not panicking. I think Sanmeet was talking about that earlier. Speaking of, I've held Alphabet shares throughout this time. So the 8.0 score or 8.5 score just means that I'll continue to hold at least $1,000 worth for the next 5 years. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is Wingstop. Till then, Fool on.